there, and welcome to a special edition of Taking Sides along with Saxon and Zack. I'm Zach Borland. In this episode, we are going to preview the 2016 NFL season and give you our predictions. We're going to go division by division through each conference and then give you our conference title game matchups and our eventual Super Bowl winner. So we're going to start with the AFC. We're going to start with the AFC East in particular. And we both have the Patriots on top in this division, so do you want to tell them why you have New England?
Well, even though Tom Brady's going to miss the first four games of the season, I think we both are in agreement that Jimmy Garoppolo is a very capable backup. So I think the Patriots will be fine. They'll probably win 3 out of those first 4 games. And then when Brady comes back, they'll be in even better shape. They're always a very well-rounded team, even though I'm not a huge fan of their coach or their quarterback or their tactics. But I'll admit that they're a good team when I see one. The rest of the division's kind of mixed together in mediocrity. I'll take the Bills second. I think they'll surprise some people this year, followed by the Jets and the Dolphins.
And I have the Dolphins second, Bills, and Jets in those orders. So the AFC South, we're kind of in agreement. Again, it's the Colts division. For me, Saxon, Andrew Luck, I think he's going to have a bounce-back season. He's had some struggles with turnovers, throwing interceptions, but until another team steps up in that division, the Texans have been good with their defense, and J.J. Watt's going to play Week 1. Yeah. I think the Titans can surprise some people. Mariota in his second season. He showed last year glimpses of what the future can hold for them, but I still think it's the Colts division to win until somebody else, takes their throne.
Hey, Andrew Luck, like you said, struggled in the last couple of years. I think he's due. He needs to have a good season. That all, I guess, is dependent on how his offensive line comes together. I know they've struggled a little bit during the preseason, but I guess we'll kind of see how that's going to play out in the first couple of weeks of the year. The Texans defense, you mentioned J.J. Watt as well. I think that defense is going to carry that team because they're not real strong on offense, even though they got Brock Osweiler during the offseason. The Jaguars, they have some talent. Allen Robinson's a huge talent. He's on my fantasy team. For all those who need a recommendation, I would draft him early on if you can. So he's going to be a big play guy, but they don't have it all together just yet. So maybe in a year or two they might make some strides towards the playoffs. And I have the Titans finishing last, but who knows? The NFL is a very parity-driven league, so anybody can win on any given Sunday.
And also, a theme that you're going to see throughout what we're talking about, we have one team that's really dominant per se in most of these divisions, and then the talent just kind of drops off. And I think that's very true of the entire league in general.
Yeah, it's a top-heavy league.
It really is. We have these few teams like the Patriots and the Colts that we're talking about so far. They're really good, and then kind of after that, everyone's going to beat up on each other to finish out those playoff spots. But moving on to the AFC North, we both have the Steelers. I'm a Broncos fan, so I think I'm the unbiased one in this instance. You look at their offense. It's the best run offense in the league. They have the most talented, skilled players in those positions. Obviously, Antonio Brown, I think, is the best receiver in the league. So even though Le'Veon Bell is suspended for a couple of games there, D'Angelo Williams, he showed last year that he can handle the number 1 spot for a few weeks, so I don't think their offense is going to miss a beat at all. Heath Miller being retired now, it's going to be tough for them to move on, but I think Jesse James, you're big on Jesse James, I think he's able to take over that reign.
I've heard a lot of mixed reviews of Jesse James, but I think he'll be a capable starting tight end, at least for this year. With the whole Ladarius Green mess, it's very unlikely that we'll see him play for the Steelers this year, but Jesse James is kind of your poor man's Heath Miller, I think. So he's not a great blocker. That's not his strength. He's more just being a nice red zone threat, so Ben will be able to take advantage of that. And any offense that has Antonio Brown and Big Ben on the same field, that's a huge advantage. There's tough for defenses to stop that. They have a ton of weapons. So I'm interested to see how this receiving core pans out, even though they don't have Martavis Bryant this year due to his suspension. I think guys like Sammy Coates can really step up and make a name for himself this year, especially after his performance in the playoffs in Denver last year. So the offense, if it performs at its top potential, it could probably put up 30 points a game, which nobody else could compete with. So that's why the Steelers really set themselves above everybody else in the division.
And the rest of the division, we both have the same thing. The Bengals second, the Ravens third, and the Browns fourth. We don't even talk about Cleveland. Everybody gets it. Excuse me. So moving on to the AFC West, this is where we differ for the first time. I'm not picking the Broncos to repeat as AFC West champions. I think the fact that they've had a lot of people move on. Manning's retired. Osweiler's moved on to Houston. On the defensive side, Malik Jackson's gone, and he was a big force for that defensive line. So there's been so many players moving on, which you see after Super Bowl championships. I think that's going to be really hard for them to repeat. I think Kansas City has been in that second tier for a while now. I think the fact that Smith is healthy, if Charles can stay healthy the whole season, they have a lot of weapons that they can use offensively, and their defense is very strong as well. So I have Kansas City on top in the AFC West, Denver second.
Well, the Chiefs are. Arrowhead Stadium is one of the toughest places to win games on the road, so they have a huge home field advantage during the season, so that really puts them off on a good first step. I think the Broncos will still win the division, though. I think their defense will be enough to carry them, much like the Texans in the South. So I do like the Broncos to win it, even though their offense is going to be obviously a lot different now without Peyton Manning. The Raiders... Still the Raiders. I'm not real thrilled with them yet. And the Chargers, with Phillip Rivers, they haven't proven that they can win with him yet. So there's no reason for me to put them above fourth place in the division.
Exactly. It's one of those things where those teams need to prove to us first before we take a leap of faith in them. So moving on to the NFC. Starting off the NFC East, this division is really just a toss-up.
Worst division, arguably.
And it's been that way for many years now, and it's sad to say, but it's true. The fact that Tony Romo's out for a long time, that's going to hurt Dallas's chances, obviously. So that knocks them down on my list. That dropped them from first to fourth for me. I mean, we all know the quarterback position is the most important on the field. So the fact that they don't have Tony Romo is going to hurt them immensely. I have the Giants winning that division. I just think that they have the most experience. Obviously, Eli Manning, a two-time Super Bowl champion. Their defense has always been strong. They have enough to get by and enough to beat up on the other teams in that division to take the title.
Well, I'm not an Eli Manning fan. I'll be upfront with that right now. Even though he's won a couple Super Bowls, I just think he's very mediocre and is prone to too many interceptions. So I'm going to say the Giants will finish second, right behind the Redskins. I'm a believer in Kirk Cousins. I don't know why. Maybe that was his whole little... Do you like that?
Yeah, I like it. I'm a buyer into it, too.
So I think he's a fiery guy. I liked him when he played in college, so I think he'll translate well this year with the Redskins' offense. The Eagles... They're just a mess. I mean, their quarterbacks are kind of like, what do you want to call it, a merry-go-round?
Yeah, Carson Wentz is going to step in with Bradford gone. It's a lot of instability there.
And then the Cowboys, they're in line with the Cleveland Browns as far as irrelevance anymore. So with Tony Romo pretty much going to miss the whole season, we're going to have to talk about Jerry Jones's off-the-field stupid comments. They're not worth a whole lot of our time. So we'll just go ahead and move on to the NFC South, where we both have the Panthers winning that division. It's hard to pick against the team that has Cam Newton. Was he the MVP last year?
Yeah, and the defense that they have, too. The reigning NFC champions. That division's weak. They're easily going to get 6 wins, I think. Playing the Falcons, Saints, and Bucks, it's not high competition, even though Drew Brees is a good quarterback for the Saints.
The Saints' defense isn't doing them any favors, they're not going to win many games this year, unfortunately. And Drew Brees today just signed a extension. I think it was a 5-year extension with the Saints, guaranteed, I think, $44 million. So the Saints are making a commitment on the offensive side of the ball, but they really got some work to do on the other end.
Absolutely. So moving on to the NFC North, this is a tighter division, I think, than the last two that we've talked about. We both have the Packers on top simply because it's hard to go against Aaron Rodgers. Their offense flows through him.
Discount double check.
That's right. And, with Nelson there, Lacey can run the ball. They have a lot of weapons that they can use. But second and third, the Bears and Lions, we have them flip-flopped. I have the Bears second and the Lions third and the Vikings fourth. But the sad thing is I think Minnesota could have made a run this year. Again, the quarterback position is so important, and the fact that Teddy Bridgewater's out for the year is going to really hurt them. I like their their defensive front seven. I think they're strong.
And they still got AP.
They still have AP, but we've seen it in the past. They throw in anybody else with Adrian Peterson. Doesn't equate to wins, so that's why I have them in the cellar. But I think this is the Packers' division to take.
Yeah, they've obviously been the team that's kind of dominated that division for the most part over the past decade or so. The Lions, Matthew Stafford's a pretty capable quarterback. If they can put it together, they could be a decent threat to the Packers. But the Bears, any team with Jay Cutler, that you cringe at watching him play.
Oh, yeah. That's why Denver got rid of him. Yeah. Just saying.
And we've already touched on the Vikings, so we'll go ahead and move on to the NFC West, our final division before going to the playoff picks. I have the Seahawks taking it. I'm a big Russell Wilson fan. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he is a dual threat. He makes life hard on the defense. The Cardinals are a close second, in my opinion. Carson Palmer, okay, he's okay. I'm kind of meh on a lot of these quarterbacks this year. They're just kind of not blowing me away, but they're not horrible at the same time. That defense will be pretty good. I like Bruce Arians as their coach, so they'll make some strides this year, but they always seem to kind of fall short and fall in the shadow of the Seahawks. The Rams and 49ers, they're not going to make any noise this year, in my opinion, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about them.
Yeah, and I actually have the Cardinals taking the NFC West. I think the fact that Bruce Arians is the most stylish head coach, if you will.
Those hats are one of a kind.
Those hats are, like you said, they're one of a kind. He's got the most swagger, Even Mike Tomlin doesn't have as much swagger as Bruce Arians, but on the field, their defense I like a lot. I think Palmer can play well enough to win some games. I like the running game as well. So I have the Cardinals 1, Seahawks 2, and then like you said, the Rams and 49ers are just irrelevant.
All right, let's head to the playoff picks. In the NFC, I have the Panthers and the Seahawks, with the Panthers winning and heading on to Super Bowl 51, right?
Yeah,
that's going to be, where's that hosted this year?
I think in Houston.
Houston? All right, perfect.
Don't quote me on it, though. In that game, I have the Panthers over the Cardinals. Like we said, we both like the NFC West division title winner. So that was the Seahawks for you, the Cardinals for me. But the Panthers,
South, yeah.
The Panthers are just too strong. Their defense is incredible. Cam Newton's playing out of his mind right now.
That's what we think is Cam Newton, Superman.
That's right. So I have them, like you, moving on to Super Bowl 51.
And then in the AFC, I've kind of gone back and forth on this a couple times, but my gut tells me that it's the Patriots and the Steelers up here, and then everybody else kind of just muddled together in the bottom. So it's really a top-heavy conference this year. But the Steelers, even though I'm a huge Steeler fan, I admit that they have a lot of issues as far as injuries, suspensions, just guys that aren't going to be playing at 100%. So especially with Cam Hayward being a question mark for Week 1, Marcus Gilbert's already hurt his elbow, and he's questionable for Week 1. You're missing Martavis Bryant the whole year, Le'Veon Bell. The list just goes on and on. And the defense, it's probably still not going to be great, but it should be better than last year with some key pieces like Artie Burns being infused into that secondary. So I think the Steelers will end up going on to the AFC Championship game with the Patriots, but my gut tells me it's not going to be enough. There's probably going to be too many injuries along the way, and the Patriots are going to kind of leap over them to go to the Super Bowl.
For me, I have the Steelers over the Patriots only for one factor. I think the fact that this game's going to be played at Heinz Field. I think the Steelers are going to have the better record. The fact that Brady's out for a while,
Really?
I think so. I think Tom Brady being out is going to cost them a couple games, and rightfully so.
You don't believe in Jimmy Garoppolo?
I don't believe in Jimmy Garoppolo as much. I think the system itself that Belichick runs is great. You can throw anybody in it. We saw that with Matt Castle.
You can do anything with video cameras.
Exactly. But here's the thing. I think the fact that Pittsburgh last year felt like they let one get away with that fumble.
Fitzgerald, Tucson.
Yes, so I think that leaves a bitter taste in their mouth. I think they're going to play hard enough to have home field throughout the playoffs. I think they're going to get the 1 seed. I know there's a lot of question marks, but this is a little bit of a leap of faith for me. I think they drafted well this season. I think that Ben's going to come out with a mission. I know there's a lot of ifs, but...
Well, Javon Hargrave also is a great pick, I think. I think
yeah.
He's a third-round pick this year. As long as he stays healthy, I know he's dealing with a groin injury right now leading up to the first game against the Redskins, but I think he's going to be a big part of that defense on the defensive line. We haven't had a great player in that position since Casey Hampton retired. So, it seems like the Steelers on paper should be the favorite with 1A, I guess.
I'm even starting to sway him now, so I might sway you as well. So I have the Steelers and the Panthers. You have the Patriots and the Panthers. My Super Bowl champion, and so is yours. Not to spoil anything, but we both think Carolina's going to win. My reasoning is simple. They got ousted last year when they thought they were going to walk in there and take it away easily. I think the Panthers have the best team in football all around, special teams, defense, offense. Cam Newton, I think he's just so young and so diverse, it's hard to contain him, and I don't think that anyone else like the Broncos defense last year will be able to repeat that performance. So I think the Panthers take it 24-21.
Well, and look for Kelvin Benjamin also to have a big year for the Panthers.
Absolutely.
He missed, I think, some time last year, most of last year, if not all. I think they're going to be a high-scoring offense, which is what wins in the NFL these days. They do have a great defense, too. Luke Kuechly is one of my favorite players in the NFL in general. I think he's a great guy to look up to, and he plays the game the right way. But I think the Panthers will sneak by the Patriots, Patriots as well. I think they'll probably take it 30-27, 30-24. I haven't really decided, but we're a long ways off from Super Bowl 51. We'll have to revisit that down the line once we figure out who actually will be in the Super Bowl. But it's tough. Even though we're picking the Panthers, I will say this, it will be tough to get back there because it's never easy to reach that same spot 2 years in a row. Just, like I said, it's such an even league for the most part, and a lot of teams can pull off some upsets. All right, well, I think that wraps up our picks for today. We're going to go ahead and post these on the site if you guys want to take a look at them and comment on them. Go right ahead. We'll be glad to banter back and forth in the comment section. But we're going to go ahead and lock these in, as long as you're okay with that.
We're locking them in.
We're not going to backtrack later in the season when things start going awry for any of these teams. No. We're going to stick with these.
We're riding these out through thick and thin.
And we'll be glad to admit when we're wrong.